Spence, Crawford. It's coming.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, as we're recording this, we're just slightly over a week away. So is it feeling like the biggest fight in boxing? Does it feel like it now? Is the aura behind it?
I feel like I want to say yeah, only because you know I'm in boxing gyms, right? So when I'm in the boxing, I overhear people talking about it. So
Yeah.
people like, oh, I think Crawford's gonna win. I think Spence is gonna win. So I do feel like as we're getting closer to the fight, more and more people are talking about the fight. My man, Trent hit me up like, yo, we still good for Saturday to watch the fight. I'm like, yeah, we straight. So I do think that, the fight is getting more traction. Now, I don't know how widespread this fight is in terms of like from a global standpoint or US standpoint. Hopefully it does, do well from a pay-per-view number standpoint. But nevertheless, I do feel like it feels like a big fight to me, especially with the all access. I feel like honestly for me, it feels like a big fight.
Yeah, bro. No, it feels like a big fight. It feels like what it's supposed to be like, like I'm like the buzz is there, you know what I'm
Right.
saying? It's people hitting me up on like Instagram, like, yo, remember we was talking about this back when Errol had on the red sweatsuit and Terrence had the phone clip on his hip? It's like it's finally happening. Like so people are hitting me up. I'm seeing them doing their interviews on different outlets and stuff. So like it's happening. People are talking about it. I think they're gonna do numbers, and I think this is the one right here. I do. Even just everything they're doing. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if this is subtle or intentional, but like neither guys even got like a haircut. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know if it's that they're that locked in that they don't have the time to cut their hair, or if they're trying to do a nod to the old school boxers. You know what I'm saying? The old school boxers rock the fros and stuff.
Yeah.
So I don't know what's going on there, but trust me, it feels massive. You know what I'm saying? Like people can't wait. So like I'm excited for this one. The media workout was recently. Did you get a chance to check out the media workout?
Yeah, I watched both Errol Spence's workout and Terrence Crawford's workout.
How do
I'll
both guys look?
probably have you answer it first though, but I want to ask you, what is one thing you noticed from Errol Spence's media workout versus Crawford's media workout?
So probably the thing that everybody's seeing, you know what I'm saying? And Errol Spence looks to be in phenomenal shape. You know what I'm saying? No, I have no issues thinking that he's gonna miss weight or anything. He looks phenomenal shape, but he still looks like much bigger than Crawford to me. Yeah. I'm kind of surprised in the workout how much bigger he looked, because I'm sure on weigh-in there'll be like ounces or ounces to the most a pound apart on the weigh-in. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it's just crazy, and I don't want to get into like science or the anatomy of the body, but it's just crazy how physiques can look different, but like the weight can be similar. But he just looks bigger and more like physically imposing than Crawford. But Crawford's a guy that stays in shape. He looked pretty good as well. He looked locked in, really focused. Like I think the title of the video when I saw it was Crawford looking real sharp. I'm not trying to hate on him. He looked good, but he kind of looked like he always looked. You know what I'm saying? Neither, but the same for Spence. Neither guy did anything in their workouts where I was like, okay, that was different. He looked sharper than usual. You know what I'm saying? They both just really looked locked in. You know what I'm saying? But what was your opinion on the workouts?
Yeah, I think they were just going through the motions like any other media workout. It seemed like Crawford to me looked really the same, right? He was just going light, hitting the mitts, really wasn't going too hard. Shots was like short. He was just taking it pretty easy. Spence fairly the same. I'll probably say the biggest difference was probably like Derek James, how he was switching his stances with the mitts to make it like southpaw orthodox to kind of replicate, Terrence Crawford's style. And then, like you said, the size difference between the two. Errol Spence looked in phenomenal shape. So did Terrence Crawford as well. But I would say it just seemed like they're really ready. You know what I mean? It looked like they're really looking to gear up and ramp up as the fight get close. So
yeah, and neither guy is known for like slacking in training camp, right? I know a lot of people run with the soundbite where Errol Spence said, now post fight before training camps, he was blowing up, but he's never been a guy who like didn't take training camp seriously or anything. So I had no worries there. But now a clip that I actually saw today, I'm not sure if you saw this one. We can go, like get it in post or whatever. So Shawn Porter actually finally came out and said the Shawn Porter that fought Terrence Crawford was not the same Shawn Porter that fought Errol Spence. And I know that can be interpreted in a lot of different ways, but it finally sounded like he was saying, like, I wasn't at that level anymore. That's
Right.
that's what it sounded like when he said that. Now, did you get a chance to see that clip by chance?
No, I haven't seen that clip, of course. I'll drop that clip here now.
The resume. They both fought me, but I was not the same person all the way around the board when I in the ring against Crawford as I was against Spence. What I'm trying to say is when y'all looking at resumes and y'all saying he ain't fought nobody yet, it don't even matter.
It don't
So
matter.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think it was pretty obvious. Like, I just think that the Shawn Porter that fought Spence was a scared Shawn Porter. I don't want to say scared in the sense that he truly, like, he was, oh my God, Spence, I'm waking up in cold sweats. I think it was just more so the element that Spence brought, and Spence was on Shawn Porter to make that fight happen. I feel like Shawn Porter back was against the wall, and I think he trained much harder for Errol Spence because he knew this was the toughest opponent that he would ever face. And Shawn Porter was at the top of his career at that particular point in time, right? Mm-hmm. And then, of course, we hear the stories when he fought Terrence Crawford. His father was like, he stopped the fight because of the lack of preparation. Shawn Porter was like, yeah, I didn't want to go swimming. I was tired, or I just felt like I didn't want to do these things anymore, right? So they were button heads. And then more importantly, Shawn Porter's like, yeah, he was thinking about retirement before the fight. Mm-hmm. So, there's a lot of different factors. And then even when you watch the fight, even though he had success early on against Terrence Crawford, he was his motor didn't seem to look the same as well, right? Yeah. Like, it seemed, at certain points of time as the fight progressed, a little bit more sluggish. So right. I think to me, it was obvious it wasn't the same Shawn Porter. By what margin? That's debatable, right? Mm-hmm. But if I had to rank it by a letter grade system, I would say if he was fighting Errol Spence, that could have been A+ Shawn Porter. But when he fought Terrence Crawford, I'll probably give him a B+. Mm-hmm. Maybe A-. What about you?
So, I mean, I'm kind of shocked that he kind of said it because I feel like every time he gives like Errol some kind of like nod or compliment, he tries to find like a way to like backhand Errol. You know what I'm saying? And Terrence is his boy. I know Shawn says he doesn't have it. Errol's told him to straight up to him over his podcast, but it seems like Shawn has some kind of jealousy against Errol Spence. I have speculations, but I have no concrete proof. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I was shocked that he said that because I think we all, as consensus, believe it's the truth. Doesn't mean Crawford doesn't get credit for stopping him. Of course, he gets credit for stopping him, but that Shawn was different. And like you mentioned, he did have success early in the fight. To me, he had success up until that 10th round. Like they were going, like the difference between the Spence fight and that fight, to me, in my opinion, him and Spence had more close rounds where the rounds that Shawn was winning against Crawford, he was winning decisively. And then Crawford was winning rounds, you know what I'm saying? But, the rounds that Shawn won in that fight, I think he won decisively. I think even the rounds he won in the Spence fight, most of them weren't decisive. You know what I'm saying? So it was just, so he was having success in that Crawford fight. I know everybody remembers the stoppage, but still had a pretty solid performance up until then. But I think, like what you said, that when it comes to like the preparation, like he seemed tired towards the end of the fight, right? What really got him dropped is kind of just fighting sloppy, lunging and stuff. You know what I'm saying? Things that you don't really see from Shawn Porter. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I don't know, man. But like Shawn Porter's, for the lead up of the fight, he's been key, like him and Kell Brook, because everyone want to try to like compare, even though like styles make fights, so everything is different. But I was just shocked when I heard him say it. I'm like, oh, he's finally admitting it. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like because he's getting the question so much at this point, it's just like, I can't even front no more. Yes, it's the truth. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, he's still a man with pride too. Everybody saying, oh, you got washed by Crawford, this, that, and third. So I think he almost has to like stand up for himself too, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and just be honest, and it, like you said, it doesn't take away from what it's just the truth is the truth, regardless of what feelings are hurt. At the end of the day, facts are facts, or perspective. Because if you just look, I think it's just common sense that clearly those two versions of Shawn Porter were not the same. Now they were fighting two different fighters, right? But you can just kind of tell, and then just all the evidence that we've collected up until now clearly says, they weren't the same fighters. So, hopefully, of course, we'll see. I guess come fight night between the two fighters, how that'll pan out. So, but I did want to ask you about the All Access. Oh, did you have a question?
No. Go ahead. You go ahead.
Yeah, so I did want to ask you about the All Access. In terms of what did you find? What stood out to you while watching the All Access, and how did you feel about it? From both fighters.
The thing that stood out to me, All Access, was the scene where Bomac was sitting down and folded his arms on his stomach. No. I don't know. That was just such a weird scene to see, bro. I've never seen anything like that.
Yeah, I know what scene you're talking about too.
I've never seen anything like that in my life.
No, Bomac gotta chill, bro.
But seriously, amongst the fighters, what stood out the most to me is they're confident, like they're each confident, but I guess how respectful they are to one another. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I know they each think, the other's a great fighter, but I guess just the way they speak highly of one another, even when they're not there. You know what I'm saying? I think that's what's most shocking to me, because the preparation can't be denied. We see them going hard, but even things like, I guess they're looking for additional ways to, I guess Bomac's looking for additional ways to motivate Crawford, because we know Crawford's a dog, right? So he has the animosity even if you don't see it. But like when he's like dancing and Bomac's like, I bet you won't dance on Arrow like that. It's almost like he has to try to pull that out of him, because Crawford's not really like usually how he talks to guys and stuff like that. But the same with Spence, even though Spence is saying, I'm gonna break his will, I'm gonna do this. Usually I'm used to hearing Spence say, I'm gonna punish you, watch. I'm gonna so I guess that's might be something very minor, but the level of respect that they seem to have for one another, because I wonder if that's going to translate to the fight and lead us to have a longer fill out period than we all want to have. You know what I'm saying? I know we all want to see that like Tommy Hearns kind of Duran fight where they just go out there and just slug. That's not what we're gonna get, but but just the level of respect they have for each other is what I think has been most shocking to me, because you have moments of Crawford like, yeah, he's ducking me, I'm in the ocean looking for the big fish. So it's like, but now that the fight's here, it's like it's so respectful on both of their parts. I guess that's shocking to me. How about you?
Yeah. And it's funny that you say that, because I thought there would be a little bit more aggressive talk, especially with some of the shade, especially from Crawford's side, prior to the fight being made. But now that the fight is here, it's kind of like, all right, you know what, let's which is interesting. But watching the All Access, it was interesting just watching it. I would say it was cool to see, both fighters be family oriented, right? That was interesting. Nothing with their workouts. Their workouts seem like, regular, just getting out the mud, right? Errol Spence working out in that hot ass gym, right? But I would say I learned more on Terrence Crawford's side, because I believe this is the first time we've actually got like an All Access from Terrence Crawford since he's partnering with PBC. And I guess the relationship he has with his team, which I find commendable, that he's really close with his team. They're like friends, they're like family. So, which I respect, so I'll count it was that was cool. But aside from that, nothing really like unique. But that was the most interesting thing from watching the All Access for sure.
Yeah. The question I actually wanted to ask you is, I don't know if you saw I tend to mix these channels up, if it was Fight Hype or Fight Hub. I think it might have been Fight Hub. When they did, it was Breadman. Was okay. So you know what I'm talking about.
Yes. So Cal Brooks, Shawn Porter, and they had the four the interviews with the four individuals. Yeah.
So Breadman said in the Denny Garcia fight, Spence looked like he didn't fill out, like rehydrating the way that he normally does. Now, I just want to ask, did you kind of see that from Spence? And then compare his physique in the Garcia fight to, I guess, the Ugas fight, and let me know if you saw a difference. So those are my 2 questions.
You know what's crazy about that? When he was talking about it, I was like, because for context, let's rewind back. I remember one time I was editing videos and I was taking pics from online, right? You know how we frame our videos. And I seen a picture in the Danny Garcia Errol Spence fight, and there was pictures of him like kind of throwing punches. And I'm like, man, he don't really look as big, as he normally does. But I'm like, it's probably just the way the pictures are, because it was a segment in where he was comparing the size of Errol Spence to another fighter. So I was trying to take the Danny Garcia fight. So I had to go to another fight. And I ended up actually going into the Ugas fight to play, because he's just seen more muscular, right? So, and it's crazy that Breadman said that, because I was like, oh man, is there merit to what he's saying? I haven't went back to actually watch the footage, because footage is much different than actual pictures. But it might be some truth to that, to be quite honest. And you got to factor in, that was right off the car accident.
Yeah.
Preparation might have been different, right? Him fighting Ugas, he didn't get into a car accident. He had a torn retina, but he was training well before then, right? So he had a longer duration to really prepare for the Ugas fight. So it might be some merit to what Breadman is saying.
Yeah, and I guess the confusing thing to me is, we know the IBF is supposed to have that 10-pound rehydration clause, but obviously that's not like enforced very strictly.
No.
So I don't know if that probably I doubt that had anything to do with it. I think I'm leaning more towards what you said, is coming off the car accident. So even though you're training, you're probably not training as normal or intense as you can now that you've gotten that over that hump, right? You've had the first fight. Now you're kind of like staying at a steady weight. So I would probably have to go back and look at the footage as well, but I guess we have to take it from the most recent fight, which is the Ugas fight, and I think he looked like Errol Spence that we're used to seeing.
Absolutely, he looked like the Errol Spence we know him to be, the grave digger, big fish.
Yeah, dude comes up with a new nickname every time.
Grave digger, airplane man, big fish.
Yeah.
Like he's coming up with the Grim Reaper. I don't know what's next, and it's funny because he yells it out during the interview, like
yeah,
but
he looks confident. I'm not gonna lie, like and it's crazy too, because we'll do our fight predictions at another day, because fight's coming up soon, so we got to drop that next week. But it's crazy because Spence being the underdog, right? But I feel like everyone who I hear say they're picking Crawford, they say they're picking Crawford because then they go back to Spence can't be the same, this, that, and the third. I really haven't heard someone say, I'm picking Crawford because, I think he's a better counter puncher. I think he has what on paper was said to be a 2-inch reach advantage. So I think with his quick twitchy reflexes, he's going to catch Errol doing this. You know what I'm saying? Just anything that will say, it's just the boxing aspect of it. I feel like everyone's saying he's going to beat Spence because he's the more dedicated guy to boxing. Hasn't had a car wreck. He hasn't had his, so I think that's been, just kind of weird for me. I kind of just want to hear boxing analysis. I guess it's hard to separate such eventful life events, but I think that's been kind of weird for me. But Errol doesn't seem bothered by any of that. Doesn't seem like he has any issues with the eye. I guess the more so than the wreck, the eye would have been my concern for making sure we have a good fight. Right. But I'm not gonna lie, even though yes, I think Bud Crawford hits harder than Ugas. Ugas got a shot in on Errol when Errol wasn't looking.
Yep, wasn't looking and loaded the shot, and he hurt Errol, right? But that's because Errol was looking for his mouthpiece, and he thought his teeth fell out, so he was kind of like caught off guard and still didn't knock him out. So it's kind of like,
and I think 95, as long as they're in the same weight class, I think like 95% of boxers, if they sneak a boxer, they're gonna hurt him.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're just too good, too strong. Even if you think someone's a pillow puncher, like for example, people call Devin Haney a pillow puncher. Let him hit someone when they're not looking; they're gonna get hurt
with a straight crawl with your power punch. Yeah, it's definitely gonna hurt you. I mean, we're gonna see because it looked like Terrence Crawford is the favorite right now. So we're gonna see as they get close to the fight. you know, people are going to switch up this last week.
Yeah,
probably. But yeah, I kind of, I mean, I get using the car wreck as a limiter for Errol Spence, but you also got to judge it based off of, you know, his last performance, how he's been performing, you know, you get what I mean? So we will just have to see, you know.
Yeah, I can tell you a major indicator is going to be the day of the weigh-in. If Spence comes in those black Air Force Ones, then that means he means
business.
He means business, yeah.
That's a fact.
Yeah, so, you know, hop in the comments. Let us know. What do you think about the All Access? What do you think about the build-up to the fight? Does it feel like the biggest fight in boxing? You know, feel free to tell us ahead of time who you got, Spence or Crawford, who you think's going to win. And if you want to drop your pay-per-view predictions, I know that's something we mentioned earlier in the year, but I think this one's going to do numbers.
Agreed. Definitely. Like, comment, subscribe, and let us know in the comment section.
Yeah, 2 cents short of $1, and we're out.